Tonight on Blanket Fort Stories, we're settling into a strange and upsetting HOA story about two sisters who inherited their childhood home after losing both parents, only for their HOA to claim they were no longer a single-family household. What started as repeated friendly reminders turned into written demands, neighborhood outrage, and a surprising reversal. Cozy up, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Imagine losing both of your parents, inheriting the house you grew up in, and trying to hold your life together with your sibling. Now imagine your homeowners association showing up at the door and saying, one of you has to leave. Not because of noise, not because of damage, not because of unpaid fees, but because, according to them, two sisters living together no longer counted as a single-family household. Tonight on Blanket Fort Stories, we have a story about grief, bureaucracy, neighborhood power, and the moment an entire community realized the rules could be used against their own children, too. Get comfortable. Let's get into it. The story begins with two sisters in Washington State. One sister was 21, the other was 19. They had lived in the same house their entire lives. Their parents had bought the home 27 years earlier, and about 15 years before this story took place, the family joined the neighborhood HOA. For most of their lives, this house was simply home. It was where they grew up, where their family lived, where their parents built a life. But then, everything changed. Their father passed away 5 years earlier. Their mother passed away 6 months before the original post. After that, the sisters became the owners of the house. They were young, grieving, and trying to continue living in the only home they had ever known. And then the HOA started visiting. According to the sisters, people from the HOA came to their house multiple times. Not once, not twice. 4 times. Each visit carried the same basic message. Now that their mother had passed away, the HOA claimed the sisters were no longer living in a single-family household. The HOA said that, under the community rules, only a single family could live in the homes, and according to the definition they were using, a single family meant a person or couple and their legal unmarried children. So when their mother was alive, the mother and daughters counted as one family. But after their mother's death, the HOA claimed the two sisters were now two separate families made up of single adults. And because of that, they wanted one sister to move out. At first, the sisters did not even have a copy of the rules. They asked for the HOA terms every time someone came to the door. Every time, the people said they would send them, but nothing arrived. No written proof. No actual documents. Just repeated visits, repeated reminders, and the threat that if the sisters refused to comply, the HOA could sue them. The sisters searched their own documents and could not find a copy of the HOA regulations. They kept asking the people at the door to provide the terms. But the HOA never gave them anything in writing at first. That detail made the situation even more stressful. Because the sisters were not just dealing with a weird rule. They were dealing with people repeatedly showing up at their home after a major loss, telling them that one of them needed to leave without even handing over the rule they were supposedly violating. Online commenters told them to get the HOA documents. They suggested checking county records. And they pointed out something important. This rule sounded ridiculous, but the sisters still needed to know exactly what the written document said. A few months later, there was an update. The sisters confirmed that the people visiting them were actually from the HOA. They also finally got the CC&Rs, which are the covenants, conditions, and restrictions governing the community. And yes, there really was a strange single-family clause. The definition included a lot of relatives: partners, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, step-parents, stepchildren, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, even children of uncles and aunts. But there was one very obvious omission: siblings. The rules included all kinds of extended family relationships. But somehow, two sisters who had lived in the home, their entire lives were not included. The documents also said that co-owners could not live there together unless they fit the HOA's definition of a single family. So the HOA sent an official letter claiming the sisters were in violation and demanding that they comply. At this point, the situation became real. It was no longer just people showing up at the door with vague warnings. Now, the HOA had put it in writing. According to them, one sister needed to move out of the house they both owned, but the sisters did not quietly accept it. Instead, they took the issue directly to the neighborhood. They made copies of the HOA terms. They made copies of the violation letter. Then they went around the community and showed people exactly what was happening. Their message was simple. Imagine you died tomorrow. Would you want the HOA to kick out your kids? Because that is what they are doing to us, and if they can do it to us, they can do it to your family too. That was the turning point, because suddenly this was not just about two sisters. It was about every homeowner in the neighborhood, every parent, every family, and every person who assumed their home would remain safe for their children. The sisters gathered signatures. Almost everyone started contacting the HOA president, and the community demanded that this stop. Within 2 weeks, the sisters received another letter. This time, the HOA said it had been a mistake. They apologized, they backed off, and the sisters were no longer being told that one of them had to move out. But the story did not end there, because once the neighborhood saw what the HOA had tried to do, people started talking, and the sisters learned something else. The HOA was not just horrible to them. Apparently, it had been frustrating a lot of people. So now, neighbors were preparing to run for the HOA board. They wanted to replace the current members, and there was even talk of holding a referendum about whether the HOA should be dissolved entirely, because according to the update, many people felt the HOA was not doing anything useful. It was just making life harder for everyone. To me, this story is not just about an HOA rule. It is about what happens when rules are enforced without common sense. These sisters were not strangers renting rooms. They were not turning the house into a business. They were not disrupting the neighborhood. They were two young adults who had lost both parents and were trying to stay in their own childhood home. And instead of compassion, they got paperwork. Instead of support, they got pressure. But the reason the HOA backed down is important. The sisters did not just argue that the rule was unfair to them. They showed the neighborhood that the rule could hurt anyone. They made every homeowner picture their own children being treated the same way. And once people saw the bigger picture, the HOA lost control of the story. Sometimes the strongest response to an unreasonable rule is not quiet compliance. It is making sure everyone understands who could be next. Now I want to know what you think. If you inherited your childhood home with your sibling, and an HOA told you one of you had to leave, what would you do? Would you fight it privately? Take it to the neighborhood? Get a lawyer immediately? Or start trying to remove the board? Let me know in the comments. And if you like cozy retellings of messy neighborhood drama, strange updates, and stories where ordinary people push back, subscribe to Blanket Fort Stories. Until next time, stay cozy and always read the fine print.